Go live now there to Altadena, California, where we find NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz. Liz, good morning. What are you seeing there today?
Hey, good morning to you. I mean, we just continue to see mass destruction. This is really hard to wrap your head around. Right now, I'm in downtown Altadena. This is one of the many businesses that is destroyed. It clearly was an auto part shop. You can see all of these charred cars here that are piled up. And then just really, as far as you can see in this downtown area, there is mass destruction of grocery stores and businesses and banks. And this is just part of it because, as you know, there's thousands of homes that have been destroyed. I will point out we are seeing a much heavier police presence this morning trying to get into the fire zone. We are seeing the National Guard now. That is a change as they continue to try to crack down on these looters and reports of looting that are happening with folks coming in and going into some of these homes, the ones that are still here. And I think, you know, a big part of this right now that we're looking at is the death toll. We saw overnight the death toll went up now to 10, as we've seen in past fires. The Camp Fire, the fire in Maui, at this point, eventually, the law enforcement and first responders will bring in cadaver dogs to go through some of the homes and search for remains. And sadly, I spoke to a woman who had to evacuate her home. She got out, but her grandmother, who lives in the home, did not want to evacuate, and she sadly perished in the fire. And I spoke to her yesterday, and she just talked about the tragedy and trauma of losing someone in that way, and just to see the neighborhood that you live in just reduced to nothing. It looks like a bomb went off. It looks like a war zone. It's just not the place that you know and grew up. And as we continue just to look at some of this damage here, something else I want to point out is the insurance crisis here that's growing. I talked to folks in this community that had their insurance dropped. One couple had their insurance dropped, their homeowner's insurance dropped last year. They said it was like a full-time job trying to get new insurance. He cried when he finally got someone to insure them just last month. So they are very lucky, but they know many of their neighbors were not so lucky, do not have insurance, because insurance companies have been pulling out of the state because of this climate crisis. And then on top of that, the housing crisis. So many of us who live here in California deal with the housing crisis every day. This is one of the worst places for housing in the country, a housing shortage. There's thousands of people now without a home. Where are they going to go? Where are their kids going to go to school? And what's that going to mean to rental and home prices here in the state for everyone, guys?
That's the thing. Just talking to people I know who've lost their homes, have lost everything. Now what? Are you going to stay there and try to rebuild, which takes years? Do you move to a different city, pull your kids out of school? Schools are burned down. There's so much to consider here in these early moments. And Liz, you're showing us, and we're seeing all these overhead images of communities completely shelled out, burned to the ground. But some of these fires are still very much alive and burning. So what's your sense, talking to firefighters, of the status of containment there and what they can expect today as some of these winds pick up again?
Yeah, the winds picking up obviously is not good, continuing the red flag warning. I think that it's just going to continue to be a really challenging firefight. I will say, from being here in Altadena, and then last night I was back at the Palisades fire, we were not seeing as much active fire within these areas of the homes as we had been the night before. So that is good news. And even though the winds are picking up, they're not going to be as ferocious as they were that first night when the fire really, raced up into Malibu. The fire ignited here. So that is hopeful. But also, really, these firefighters are stretched thin. You heard it in Tom's piece. These guys are working, these men and women are working 60-hour days. They're sleeping on the side of the road, sleeping on people's lawns. I mean, they are stretched thin, but there's been a huge outpour of resources from firefighters across the state coming here to help out. But it's a really tough battle.
Doing incredible work, but it is such a daunting task. NBC's Liz Kreutz in Altadena, California this morning. Liz, thanks so much.